DED has the responsibility for ensuring that CDBG funds are used in accordance with all program requirements. Because the state CDBG program awards funds to subrecipients, subrecipients are responsible for oversight of the funds, complying with the terms and conditions of the grant agreement, and ensuring the project is completed successfully and on schedule and within budget. Monitoring is an important tool for the state to ensure that subrecipients comply with all regulations governing their administrative, financial, and programmatic operations and meet the performance objectives identified in the subrecipient agreement on schedule and within budget. DED is responsible for taking appropriate action when performance and compliance issues arise. Federal regulations are explicit regarding the state's monitoring responsibilities and require us to monitor each program, function, and activity. Both DED and the subrecipient are responsible for oversight of the federal award. Subrecipients must agree to permit the pass-through entity, which is DED, and auditors to access their records and financial statements in order for the state to fulfill its monitoring requirements. Sorry. I did that one. That's back to gain. Okay, I'm going the wrong way. Okay. As the pass-through entity, DED must ensure subrecipients comply with all regulations and complete a successful project on schedule and within budget. The CDBG program has several monitoring goals. We want to provide positive feedback to subrecipients and acknowledge what they have done well. We also want to focus on how they can improve performance and provide technical assistance when we see an opportunity for training. Open communication is a must, and we want to identify and resolve points of miscommunication or misunderstanding. We want to help our subrecipients in creating good record-keeping systems to document all aspects of the project. CDBG program staff understands the importance of ensuring our subrecipients and grant administrators have the knowledge and capacity to effectively and correctly manage the grant. There are many federal and state requirements. Our staff is always willing to assist when you have questions. We assume that our subrecipients and grant administrators will take it upon themselves to ensure their staff working with CDBG grants has the proper training about CDBG requirements. The CDBG program is always changing, so it's important to keep up with new developments. The training we provide should augment training that is sought out by our subrecipients and grant administrators. Our program staff is available to provide technical assistance and training upon request, or we may offer it when we see a need. It may also be a requirement of the risk assessment, especially when a subrecipient or their grant administrator has little experience working with CDBG funds. In addition to targeted technical assistance, we offer several training opportunities on an annual and monthly basis. We are an email or a phone call away when you have questions. Monitoring should not be a one-time event. We expect our subrecipients and grant administrators to monitor and provide oversight to their projects throughout the project life cycle. This will help to correct issues as they appear and to improve grant performance. we request procurement documentation, copies of contracts, payrolls, Section 3 hours, etc., as the project moves forward, so that we can conduct desk monitoring. We are hoping to identify and resolve any issues up front instead of after the fact. The level of monitoring is based on the risk assessment and the project monitoring plan. A subrecipient with a higher risk level will require more monitoring and technical assistance than one with a low risk level. CDBG staff utilizes the annual monitoring checklist to monitor projects. We recommend organizing the project files in sections or folders following the monitoring checklist. It is helpful to flag items listed on the monitoring checklist in the project files, especially in the contracts. We highly recommend the subrecipient monitor their project using the checklist prior to our monitoring visit to ensure that all items are included in the project file and they're organized and easy to find. And that's just a screenshot of our monitoring checklist. The monitoring checklist includes all the cross-cutting requirements as well as sections that are applicable to specific activities such as economic development. As long as desk monitoring was completed, it will take approximately 3 to 4 hours for each project to complete the closeout monitoring. The monitoring checklist is comprised of questions to help the monitor determine whether the file contains sufficient documentation to show compliance with each requirement. Once monitoring is completed, the compliance specialist will send a follow-up monitoring letter. The monitoring letter will recognize areas of good performance and identify specific areas of noncompliance and deficiencies, which are findings and concerns. A finding is a violation of law or regulation that can result in a sanction. A finding is a material deficiency in operations or program performance, which is a violation of statutory, regulatory, or a program requirement. A concern is a matter that can become a finding if not properly addressed. An observation is an issue that can easily be addressed through clarification and training. A concern is a weakness in operations or performance which could become a finding in the future if not addressed. The letter should include specific recommendations for improvement for each concern identified. The monitoring letter will also specify how to address identified findings of noncompliance through corrective actions. The required corrective action for each finding will be identified and will include a description of each finding of noncompliance. Also include clear and specific steps the subrecipient must take to correct the finding and milestones to measure the progress if applicable, and a deadline for completion of each corrective action. Subrecipients will have the opportunity to respond to the finding and provide additional information to demonstrate compliance. A sanction is a penalty or restrictive measure imposed when a finding remains uncorrected. If a subrecipient fails to resolve identified findings and continues to operate in noncompliance with federal regulations, the imposition of sanctions is appropriate. Our staff would assume some of the responsibility for helping the subrecipient correct the problem. Record keeping is very important. Since the project is subject to review by HUD and OIG auditors, it is important to maintain organized and complete files that document how all requirements were met and how all funds were used. Insufficient documentation is likely to lead to monitoring findings and could result in the appearance of fraud, waste, or abuse of funds. All records should be available to the public during normal business hours at the subrecipient's office. There are 2 places to find our monitoring checklist in the admin manual. There's a link there under Chapter 6. Okay, Administrative Manual tab, Chapter 6, Risk Assessment and Monitoring, and then the monitoring checklist. Or on the Forms tab under Closeout, you can find the annual monitoring checklist.